Yo, what's good, boys? We are back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys, and today we have another edition of rating slash reviewing your teams. As per the usual, if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe. And if you want to get on the next episode, down in the description is the email that you can send your teams into. So hopefully you can make the next episode. And let's go ahead and get into it. So we've got Patrick here first, currently hovering All-Star Hall of Fame border, so like 600-700. Says he needs pitching, has 100K, he's working towards the live series. So he's really worried about his pitching. Lineup-wise, I mean, I can help you out already here with the lineup. You're just going to want to swap Corbin Carroll and Bernie Williams, and that's going to give you a better defensive outfield. Or not necessarily a better defensive outfield, but a more valuable, center fielder than Bernie, who's like mid-60 speed with bad fielding, bad reaction, bad arm. At least with Corbin, you're getting good reaction, great speed, and, a mediocre arm. So I would definitely do that. And then at that point, you seriously kind of have a conversation between Bernie and just starting Brent Rooker. So that'll probably get your team in a better spot. As per usual, if somebody sends me their lineup order, I'm going to assume that's because they want it worked on. I mean, nothing wrong so far. Yeah, it's fine. You are gonna have back-to-back like righties and lefties since you have Javi here and Corbin here, but that's like the smallest thing in the world. It's just because you don't have 9 switch hitters. So there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, if you put Rooker in, you'll have another righty, so maybe you stagger the lineup a little more, but doesn't really matter that much. So pitching-wise, I don't remember if he was looking for starters or like starters and relief pitchers, but we've got John, obviously really good, May, really good, and then it's Cueto, Schultz, and Skeen. So I see why your bottom 3 kind of fall off. You guys know my opinion on Skeens. You kind of know my opinion on Schultz. Like at the start of the year, he was really good. Now he's kind of, dated. Still decent, but pretty dated. And then Cueto. So, I mean, without you going out and getting like Clemens or somebody, your only like direct upgrades you could really do is maybe like a Hunter Green. But honestly, when you're on All-Star and these are your pitchers, I'm just going to give you game advice instead of team advice. You just got to put up runs. Like, it's a luxury to have, like, Roger, John, Randy on All-Star to where, probably your worst case, you're giving up, like, 6 runs. A lot of these guys, if you just find people that are good, comfortable on All-Star, hit pitch as well, see pitch as well, Noah Schultz giving up 10 wouldn't be crazy. Paul Skeens giving up 8 wouldn't be crazy. Johnny Cueto giving up 15 wouldn't be crazy. The only crazy part would be you not pulling him. So really, when it gets to this point, unless you just have the top end ace material, you just kind of have to hit more, to be honest. It's probably not what you want to hear, but it is the truth. So it's a solid little team. As per usual, our first one's kind of set the bar. I like the lineup for the most part. I think Bernie's a little suspect to where, like, I probably wouldn't full-time start Bernie. Bonus points for Javi. Good amount of switch hitters, a top 3 catcher, the best third baseman, probably like a top 5 shortstop, the best second baseman, a top like 2-3 right fielder, the best left fielder in the game. So like it's a pretty solid team. It's probably has John, has Dustin May. It's probably 8. This is like solid. This is like a super solid team. I think the back end of the rotation definitely hurts you, but I think this is pretty much everybody that doesn't have live series done. So a pretty decent team. All right, so next team, we've got John here. Loves the content. Appreciate it. Around 500, Judge and Witt away from Clemens and Beltran. So getting there. I've seen quite a few people that are needing those last 2. It's like you either need those 2 or you need Shohei. Seems to be a lot of people's kind of gatekeepers. Have about 300K, so I mean, if you got 300K and Judge is what, like 450, 500, and then Bobby Witt's like 150, 180, 200, something like that. So I mean, you're probably just saving. And I see a Willie Castro, so I think you're hooping would be my thought process here. We're not even gonna do like the lineup until I see kind of all the players. I mean, yeah, this is like pretty much perfect without you having like Beltron. You know, kind of question Shohei in right, but that's easily solved by like a platoon of like maybe like the new Rooker or Bernie or just somebody like that. So, and maybe full time. Like Otani's not terrible against lefties. You're looking at like 80-80 with like okay clutch and good speed. So, not the worst card in the world. You could think of maybe like doing Jason in a secondary or doing like the new Acuna or the new Jordan. But obviously anything you buy is going to set you back on Beltron. So don't really know how worth it that is. So we've got Zim, May, Cueto, Skeens, Kane. Yeah, you weren't lying. You weren't lying. Starting pitchers are kind of in a rough spot. John, I mean, what are we doing without John in the lineup? He either takes Skeens or Matt Cain's spot for sure. And then other than that, you're talking about, you know, Clemens, obviously. You can get in there. Randy's probably not worth it for you. But I mean, John, like, it's just crazy to not have John, honestly. Other than that, like for like the Matt Cain or the Skeens part of things, like again, you can go like Hunter Green for 40K. He's not gonna be great. He's not gonna be awesome. If you like what Cueto's giving you, there's always like Logan Webb or like a pitcher like that, Corey Kluber maybe with like the Guardians boost. So you got options there. Bullpen wise, pretty good. You're running the Mets boost for some reason. Didn't see any Mets in your starting lineup. Vientos. Okay, so Vientos is getting what, like 3 contact or 3 power against each side. So that's kind of whatever. That's negligible. Gold Urseg. I mean, this could very easily be the diamond. I don't really know why you wouldn't, because I believe the gold one only has 1 outlier, whereas the diamond has both. And then Danny, probably not worth upgrading for you. So I think your bullpen's in a good spot. It's just, you know, it could be better at the starting rotation, could be better. Just kind of get the vibe. You don't really love the offline grind. You're running from the grind. So I would go, definitely go knock out John. And other than that, I think this team, it's objectively better than the last team because you got Hodges, you got Grandal, you got Willie Castro. I think the last team had Grandal too, but definitely didn't have Willie Castro. Starting staff is worse though. So I feel like maybe this is just like an 8 also. It's like an 8, 8.5. I think you're splitting hairs either way, but really good team. All right, next team we got Jake here, 875. So he plays a couple games a season, then he grinds Weekend Classic, makes sense. 250K, fairly new team build. I don't know if that means he's new to the game or if this is like a new team he's put together. I would think the second. Any bullpen or batting order suggestions, and he's not comfortable with the shortstop and catcher. I think those are pretty common areas to not be, you know, super comfortable with. This is crazy work, honestly, to sit here and have Byron and not have Yasmani playing catcher. So I think that's crazy. I don't know what your rationale is there. Like maybe you think Randall's too slow, but I mean, if you're 875 rated, I would think you don't have this emphasis on speed that a lot of like lower end players have. I think Bo Bichette at third is interesting. Obviously this wheel is not entirely accurate, but he also doesn't have parallels on him. So I think that's an interesting take on a lineup. And if you're hitting good with Judge, then, you know, I think he's serviceable. You do have Otani, though, so maybe, like, just platoon those two. Just start Otani for the better defense and the ability to, like, smash righties. And then if you know, if it's a lefty, then you put in Judge or maybe, like, the Rooker or somebody. But Judge is a crazy, just stat-wise card to try to hit with. And then Story, I mean, yeah, Story's pretty suspect. I mean, but other than him, you're looking at like Willie Castro or like the new Javier Baez. You're pretty much at Castro. Like you said, you're 250K stubs. So, I mean, that pretty much is Castro. Is it worth going broke for Castro? Debatable. Debatable. I think the card's got like really good longevity. Oh, wow. So we're in the trenches with Chris here. Roger, Chris, John, Jordan, and Al. So I mean, one of these things is not like the other. It's it's like the King Ghidorah meme where like one of them's goofy. That would be Chris Bubich. So I would probably limit him. I mean, you got other options. Like if you just want a lefty like control freak type for higher difficulty, like you have Valenzuela. If you get to legend, I think you'd probably just rather pitch Valenzuela. Not say he's a control freak, but you've got like the new Cliff Lee, probably a pass. But you've got Andy Pettit. Like there's options for you if you just want another lefty in there. You don't have to use Chris like that. Again, Randy's probably not worth it for you. But I think using that card's like crazy work. Lineup wise, I don't love this lineup structure just because you don't have a traditional leadoff. I think I would rather depending on how you bat with them, I'd probably either have Brian Roberts lead off or Byron or Trevor Story. It just kind of depends on how you bat with those cards. But I would like the more like traditional lead off over like Masataka, who's just not very fast. So I also think using him at DH is maybe a misstep. Like his swing is really good and it's definitely better than Shohei's. But Shohei, and he's got like every quirk in the game. If you just platoon him, or I'm pretty sure I saw Jock Peterson on your bench as well. Jock's probably just better than this Masataka card, and you wouldn't have to platoon him. So I think that's worth looking into. But it seems like you've used this lineup a good amount. If like Trevor Story's a 95 overall, and Brian Roberts is as well. So it's a cool team. It's a different team. It's not just like the usual cards that you see at every position. No Willie Castro kind of hurts it, and not using, it's just a 9. Like I think it's just a 9 flat, no Randy, and then you're using like Veritek still over like Posada, Santana, or Grandal, and then you'd love to see a Willie Castro, but obviously it's not realistic for everybody. But probably a 9, like a really really good team. All right, so next team, I'm going to try not to leak here because bro sent me the lineup like 5 times. But we have Aaron here. He said he has 120K, and he says he's platooning Jock with, I believe it was Judge. So pretty good lineup here. 2 permanent lefties, but he says he's platooning Jock, so he actually only has 1. I don't know if that Tony Gwynn's really worth playing, like a bad defensive Tony Gwynn with a little more power. His quirks are really good. Like he's got, a middle of the road lefty swing. I wouldn't say it's insane, but it's a pretty okay lefty swing, and then he's got like every hitting quirk. So maybe he is sauced. I just haven't used him. I don't think he looks remarkable by any means, but it is like a cheaper option than running like Acuna or one of these really expensive right fielders out there. So he did send his batting structure. It's an interesting take. I don't hate it. I think Gill's a little low, but that's probably just because you don't bat that good with him. Tony Gwynn batting 9th is kind of crazy. If he's going to be batting 9th for you, I'd just probably rather have Corbin Carroll and just have like the good defense, or even play Jason Dominguez. Like put Santander maybe in the secondary and play Jason. You got options. I think there's a better version of this outfield that doesn't include Tony Gwynn or Santander, depending on how you want to do it. Starting staff, pretty much perfect. No Randy, but I mean, if you're swapping out Randy for like Jordan Zimmerman and Outlighter, you're hooping. Like you're still good. And then bullpen wise, so 3, 4 lefties, 4 pretty good lefties. Like I said, I don't love Andrew Miller. It's just like he's strict lefty and not actually that hard to hit. So I don't love him, but your only other options are going like John Franco or somebody like that, who's also, not a barn burner. So it's not the end of the world there. I think, you got Ben Joyce, you got Hoffman, you got two of the better ones there. So not a bad bullpen either. Overall, team wise, it's probably like, trying to think if this is better than the last team or not. I mean, it doesn't have Chris Bubich in the starting rotation, so I guess there's that. And he's actually using Grandal. It's probably like a 9.5. I probably like fundamentally disagree with either still running Santander out there or running like Tony Gwynn out there. Like, you don't have to get rid of both of them, but I think just having both of them out there hurts your outfield defense a ton, as opposed to just having like somebody else. So that's probably my biggest gripe with the team. And other than that, like, all you're really missing is like Randy, which, some people don't prefer to have anyway. All right, so next team, we got Zach here, 700 rated, haven't played new season, firm Hall of Fame guy, trying to get to legend. I don't know why you're trying to get the legend unless you're just trying to get there for the weekend classic rewards. It's not like you really get paid anything extra for making it 900 or anything that's worth it. 350K, Ohtani away from Gil Hodges. So when you say Hodges, that makes me think you don't have the AL done. Don't love the outfield, can't stand Zimmerman. It's from Wilmy, so kind of local. And loves the content, so appreciate all that, all the kind words. Lineup wise, okay, so it's a different team. It's definitely different than what we've been seeing. It's more like a budget grind type account. Lindor is just so suspect for me now with the bad clutch. Like, his clutch is so bad. Like, maybe you run like Franco or the new Vientos to help him out a little bit and give him a little extra clutch, assuming that one of those boosts do give clutch. I'm pretty sure Franco gives some clutch. So you can help Lindor out and make him a little more usable, but I think with what they did to his clutch, he's going to be tough to use. I think Hall of Fame, pretty decent. Legend, you're probably pushing it with the clutch. Tim Raines, I don't love, but switch hitting outfielder, like, it's fine. Adolis, Delgado. You don't really see too many people use the Delgado. In theory, he's just like a better Ortiz. So I don't hate the card by any means. It's just, there's so many better first basemen. But I don't hate it. Still using Ted. I think he's a little dated now. I think Yasmani is probably a direction that you would want to think about going in, especially because you've already got a lot of other moonshot cards. I'm pretty sure you can get Grandal for the low ski, assuming that you get like all the cheaper moonshot cards. Bernie at DH, I would hope platooning him, just because he just can't hit a home run against a righty. And then McMahon full-time at third base isn't bad. Structure-wise, traditional leadoff, switch to Delgado third's a little scary, just because if you're facing a lefty, like if you load in and you see John or like Randy or Valenzuela on like a higher difficulty, like, what are you really doing this first inning? Is kind of my perspective. Like, you're hoping for like a bloop single or something with Corbin, and then, hoping to not have the most miserable at bat in the world with Delgado. So I think that kind of scares me there. Other than that, nothing to really complain about. Again, Tim Raines batting ninth for you. Like, if he was really tearing the cover off the ball, I could kind of see it. I think if he's your 9 hitter and he's not really that crazy defensively, I would kind of question how much value he's really bringing to your team. Let's see what else we got. So starting staff, I mean, pretty good. You just basically like traded in DeGrom for like a Hunter Green or a Skeens or somebody like that. Honestly, I completely forgot about DeGrom. He's probably really cheap to do now, since like a lot of people are getting the random choice packs and stuff, and just like pulling a million Easter players. Like, I'm pretty sure Polanco is like 30K now. So even if you wanted to get Polanco to get DeGrom, that is kind of an avenue for people to start thinking about, because DeGrom's going to get a lot cheaper. I'm still not super high on him, but you said you don't like Zimmerman. That's just tough. Like, that's just tough because there's really no other pitchers like everybody else. Like, you have all the good ones. Like, Dustin May throws incredibly hard, has a cutter, has an outlier sinker. There's really no other starter like that. John, obviously, is, like, completely unique. DeGrom, outlier four seam. Like, other than that, it's like Skeens or Hunter Green. They've been really stingy. And then Leiter. I mean, you could go like the Leiter route and give like Andy Pettit a shot or something, but Andy Pettit is not Leiter. He doesn't throw as hard. So you just kind of stuck with them, honestly, to tell you the truth. There's really not a better option. I mean, there's other people you can try, like Logan Webb and stuff. Like, I think that's a super slept on card that isn't super expensive, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's going to be great either. Hobie, you know, I don't love Hobie. I feel like you have to have a really good read on your opponent. I don't love Hoffman or Matt Brash, but I mean, if you've had success with them, that's the beauty of pitching, is different people have different, you know, success rates with different type of pitchers. Like, a lot of people don't pitch well with that, like, Pedro Martinez archetype of starter. I personally love that, like, circle change cutter outlier guy. So it's kind of the beauty of pitching, is different people get along differently with different pitch mixes. So overall, team wise, I think unfortunately it probably is like the worst team we've reviewed today, but I mean, it's not a bad thing, because I mean, he's a good rated player, so you don't have to have the best team in the world. I think Ted Simmons kind of weighing you down. I think Lindor's probably weighing you down. And Tim Raines probably isn't super great either. Starting staff's really good. Like, to not have Clemens or something, this is probably your best starting staff. So I'll be magnanimous and give you like a 7.5 instead of a 7, just because your starting staff is that good. All right, next team, we got Nick here. Hey, Big Dog. All right, that's a first. I don't know if I've ever been called Big Dog before. Got the God Squad assembled. Just trying to figure out how to order it. Appreciate any advice. Willing to swap anybody in the bullpen. 60K. Okay, so he has Castro. NDS trying to make World Series. So he's firmly on Hall of Fame, not on Legend. Outfield's pretty good. Again, like, Santander's probably going to be a little bit of a defensive liability at this point. But, I mean, if you're hitting with him, doesn't matter. Scott Rowland, Willie, J. Ram, Grandal, Brian Roberts, Hodges. So I think right field's a little questionable. Like, Acuna's probably going to be better than Corbin Carroll. But do you really want to go spend even $200K on Acuna? Probably not. Byron Buxton would be pretty good as well, but I don't know if it's worth going out of your way to lock in for. But if you did want to, maybe there's a world where, like, you DH Bo Bichette, or, you know, if you just want to go Heimer, and then play like J-Ram at third, maybe. But you can live with Scott Rowland. Like, Scott isn't terrible by any means. Starting staff, using a supercharged Screwball. Sneaky option right now. I don't know, like, how great he'll be, you know, a couple days from now or whenever his supercharge expires. P5 to Grom. So I guess I'm kind of questioning what you do after Screwball expires, but I think I see that you have him super fractured here, so you've been running him. The scary thing about Screwball is he doesn't actually throw that hard, and his clutch is pretty bad. But while he's super fractured, that's not really an issue. So, or supercharged, not super fractured. Bullpen wise, don't like Trinan, don't like Hader. I would seek alternatives to them. But other than that, like, not bad. I think all the tools are here for the most part. Like, I think your bullpen could use some work, but also if running Blake Trinan and Josh Hader costs you games, then there's probably other stuff you could have done. So I think, I mean, the tools are here. This is probably, it's not a 10, just because, like, I probably wouldn't run Scott over a lot of other guys. There's two better catchers than Grandal. Like, he's really good, and he's similar to, like, Posada and Santana, but they're both better than him. And then I think there's some outfield stuff that's a little questionable, as well as no Randy, but I think it's still like we'll split the difference. It'll be like a 9.25 because I think there's some bullpen arms that could be shuffled around, but it's still a really good team. All right, so next team we got Lucas. So he said he got Santana. I don't think he sent me an updated screenshot, but he said he got Santana. And he's trying to bat Cattell lead off because he doesn't want to lose the bat, but recognizes as clutch probably isn't the greatest. So defensively, this outfield's going to be a little behind the curve at this point to run Santander and Jason. But, I mean, it's two switch hitters with crazy attributes. So if you're hitting good with them, I wouldn't change anything. His record's also disgusting. You guys aren't going to get to see it because he emailed me multiple times, and I'm not just going to have a whole white thing on the left side of the screen. But, you know, lineup-wise, pretty good. Starting staff, so he is actually pitching Ohtani. I would be curious as to how that's gone. I probably would not pitch Ohtani, and then that would also open you up to being able to like play him in the right field, which I think is probably where he has the most value. Because just as like lefty DHs, I think there's better options. But if you want a lefty right fielder, it's really like him and Corbin Carroll. Other than that, like starting staff's pretty good. I kind of see why you pitch him, just because he always has the inside edge. And that last spot's kind of up in the air anyway. Bullpen wise, the usual suspects. Again, I don't like Hader. Does have Munoz, which I go back and forth on. Sometimes he's really good, sometimes he's kind of trash. Has Gagne, has Luke Weaver. So I think just question marks for me in the bullpen is like Gagne, Hader, and a little bit of Munoz. Everybody else I think is super solid and is probably going to give you a good outing. I think those three are pretty scary. Gagne a little less so, just because technically he has 5 pitches and has some of the better per nines in the game right now. But I think Hader and Munoz to a degree are kind of scary. And then he wanted my opinion on his lineup, because he doesn't like the idea of leading off with Beltran, which I don't either, but it kind of feels necessary if you don't have a traditional leadoff, which you don't. Like, your only option for a traditional leadoff, he mentioned he was like flirting with the idea of leading off with Cattell, but that's like what, a 55 speed, 60 speed leadoff, so it's not ideal. Your most traditional leadoffs are going to be like Beltran, J-Ram, or Jason. I wouldn't hate leading off Jason, because I think he profiles more as like a 1-2 hitter than like, you know, somebody in the heart of your order. But then when you're looking at it, like Cattell doesn't really profile super great either. But he got the new Santana is what he said. I'm pretty sure he said he has Santana now. So Santana's probably slotting into like that 4 or 5 spot. And if you really want to kind of negate Marte's clutch, you can also do that by just moving him down in the lineup where, you know, more of your bad hitters are. Cattell's out of my lineup, I will say, but you're running him at shortstop, which is a little different. Yeah, other than going and getting Willie Castro, which I don't think you included like your stub count, you're kind of just cooked. But I think your number one priority is probably just Willie Castro. And, you know, Marte's still good. Like, he's still a switch hitter, still plays incredible defense. So he's almost like Ellie, kind of. Ellie with a better swing and some really good quirks. So I think for you, you're just working towards Willie Castro more than anything else. So I think if I had to give this team a rating with the knowledge that he has Santana now, I think it's a 9. I think it's a solid 9. Nothing wrong with it. Outfield defense is a little sketch. You know, even the infield defense is a little sketchy with like Polanco and J-Ram, but you know, what can you do? You kind of need the bats. And then no Willie Castro. So I think Willie Castro is your number one point of emphasis at this point. And then maybe consider like a platoon with Judge. You have Beltran. So again, you could even like platoon Shohei. I don't know if you can start Shohei as a DH and pitch him and like substitute in Judge to play DH. I'm not sure how that works. But I would just consider maybe even like full timing Ohtani at DH or in the outfield instead of actually pitching him. All right, next up we got Tyler. Loves the videos, needs help with his batting order. So I feel like just to save time and get to more people, I won't really go over the team that much. I'll just look at it. Bailey Ober's trash. Moving on. All right, you want batting order? We'll do batting order. Carroll leadoff, makes sense. Brian Roberts 2. I like a switch hitter too. Byron profile's pretty good as like a 3-hitter. I think having back-to-back righties is a little suspect, right? Because if you're playing like Dustin May, you're probably just going to get spammed with low and end sinkers until you roll over. So that's not super fun. I'd probably put like Jock up a spot. Maybe you're not platooning him, and that's why you don't feel like super comfortable with moving him up. But I think Jock should be up one spot, if not like maybe even 2. Maybe he bats like 3rd for you, and then you split up. Maybe like Jock bats 3rd, Byron bats 4th, Yasmani bats after that, and then you kind of work with Bo and just split the lineup up. I mean, I think Jason Dominguez should probably be higher than 9th. I think for me and how I've done with his swing, he should bat 2nd, and then Brian Roberts can go more towards the bottom of the lineup. But Brian Roberts is also faster, so I see an argument. Without knowing like your averages and stuff and just like going on the player cards, it's always kind of hard to give lineup advice. All right, next team, we got Russell, 50K, bad with Brian Reynolds. I mean, aren't we all? Debating if you should sell him and try to get Santana. Okay, so we'll see if you're on the struggle bus at catcher. Little bit, but there's quite a few positions where you're kind of on the struggle bus. It's not a ton making sense to me right now. You have Willie Castro. You can just run him at shortstop, I would think. I think probably Willie at short and just Corey Seager out of position at 3rd would probably be a better defensive infield for you. If not, like maybe even Cattell at short and just leave Willie. I mean, yeah, that's probably what I would do. I would probably move Cattell to short, leave Castro at 3rd, and go get the new Brian Roberts to play second base. I think you'd be better off there. Outfield wise, I think Soto's a little dated. There's a good chance that you've locked him in, considering I see Lindor also on the bench. So that kind of is what it is. I think Pete Armstrong is a little bit outdated at this point. I would probably prefer that Victor Scott card. Obviously, on the web app, you can't really see parallels. So maybe if you have them like super factored, then maybe it's not worth getting Victor Scott. But I think Victor Scott just kind of profiles as a better card. And I think Ozzy at DH is kind of crazy because you have inverse splits. You're always either going to have a ton of contact and no power, or a lot of power, no contact, mediocre clutch. So I think that's kind of a weird card to DH. I think you can probably do better than that. You could just DH Santander and find a new first baseman. That wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world. I'm pretty sure that Delgado's free if you just grind like the Moonshot program and like maybe do part of the mini season to get like the guaranteed Crescent Moon packs or whatever. So maybe that's an avenue you want to go down. Let's see, starting staff wise. So yeah, he did do the NL East because he's got Zim. Rotation wise, it's not bad. I think Kluber's a little dated at this point. His per nines just aren't that good. And then Bob Gibson, I think personally sucks because he doesn't have outlier. And he's kind of a pitcher that completely hinges on having outlier, in my opinion. But you don't really have any options. You've already got the 2 good free pitchers to grind. You've got Zimmerman, who, hit or miss, but I think is still probably one of the best 5. You could do Leiter if you haven't already done him and maybe give him a shot. But I feel like you probably like your pitchers. I feel like you wouldn't run Bob Gibson and Corey Kluber if you didn't like them because there's just too many like other alternatives to them. Bullpen wise, it's fine. The usual suspects. Again, don't like Hader, but there's not that many super strong lefties. I will say this lineup structure makes me want to claw my eyeballs out. I kind of get what you're going for because you don't have like a super traditional leadoff here. But there's just no world where you don't just flip PCA and Willie Castro. Like if you can't hit at all with PCA and you don't want to bat him leadoff for that reason, then I kind of get it. And you just want him to be like a defensive center fielder, then he should be batting like 8th or 9th, not 3rd. And if you hit good enough with him to where you feel like you should bat him 3rd, he probably can bat leadoff, and then you'll just have better matchups after that to hit him in. So I think to get the most out of PCA, he should probably be batting leadoff. I don't know if you're like subscribing to the philosophy of, bat your best player leadoff so they get the most at bats, but I personally don't use that philosophy. As well as like Brian in the 5 spot. Dude, if this is Jason Dominguez, I feel a lot better about this lineup. So yeah, go ahead, sell Brian Reynolds. There's Jason Dominguez, who is just a better card for free. You just gotta go grind him. So I would probably go run that up. Team rating wise, it's probably like a 6. I think this is a little behind the curve. Obviously, you can still win games with it. I think having Willie Castro is cool, but it's like kind of the less is more theory, where like you could probably sell Castro and divvy him up into a lot of other stuff, and your team would probably just get better by quantity over like quality. Like you have one really good card here, and then Corey Seager, like probably outdated, and you need to platoon him. Cattell, a little outdated now with the clutch, and there's just a free Brian Roberts card that's just as good, if not better. Juan Soto, a little outdated. PCA, like still probably the best defensive center fielder, but a little outdated. And then Brian Reynolds getting outdated, and he like lost half his value. So I just kind of question what you're going for here. Willie's worth it. Like he was my one like must-have card. But that doesn't mean that, to have a diamond surrounded by, a bunch of like, I don't know, coal, I guess. So I would probably think of maybe splitting your team up a little more. But a lot of this is fixable just through grinding. So you don't even have to sell Willie, but, it's also never a bad idea to just stay liquid. All right, so next team we have Satchwa. That is an interesting name. I don't think I've ever heard that one. Second time submitting a team. Likes his pitching staff. That's great. I love that you like your pitching staff, because I cannot give advice on pitchers. Like it's just all dependent on your opponent and what difficulty you play on. So close against Scott Rowland. It is what it is. Platooning Seager, Cattell, Jock, and Bernie. Love the pitching. Go for Willie Castro or Carlos Santana. Willie. Definitely Willie. I see Corey Seager starting at shortstop. Even if you're platooning him with Cattell, I don't necessarily love either of those at this point. So has Byron. I think that's probably a misappropriation of funds right there. Where this team probably looks better with just Corbin Carroll in center field and anybody else in right field, and Willie Castro at shortstop. So I think a little bit of a misstep there, but you seem to be getting your subs back up to where you can at least think of getting other cards. As for Santana, unless you're gonna like full-time DH him and just throw away the Bernie Jock platoon, then he's kind of pointless, because he's Yasmani's 90% of what that Santana is. So it's not like the most important thing in the world. Let's see. Starting staff. So he said he likes his pitching. Makes sense. These are some really good pitchers. So, makes sense. Don't like Trinan. Don't love Ottavino. Don't love Hobie Milner just because the clutch is bad. But, if you get a read that your opponent's not going to hit him super well, if you have him at P4, he's probably pretty good. I don't love Chapman, especially if you're trying to climb difficulties and you're going to be on Legend, potentially. But if you're not, then, it is what it is. So, switch player, just hit World Series for first time ever. I did not read all that. So you were a Switch player, I guess, because this is Xbox, right? I think it seems like Xbox. I'm not 100% sure, but the team's pretty good. I think Willie Castro. To answer your long-winded question, Willie Castro. Santana just doesn't make a ton of sense. And then Scott Rowland at third might not even be better than, Brendan Polanco. So, live series is always an option for you to start working on. You said you are done with the Central and the East, so you got to do NL West, which is always kind of a drag. But I feel like you could be there if you didn't do Buxton and you had all your subs from like potentially going out and buying Willie Castro. You could probably be done with the NL. So, just something to think about. Overall, just team-wise, it's probably like an 8.5. I'll give it 8.5. It's got some really good cards, but then it's also got like Corey Seager, and it could have better cards. But really solid team. All right, next team, we have Ryan here. Plays on All-Star. Complete live series, has pulled Ohtani 3 times. So if you guys are wondering where your Ohtanis are at, you can thank Ryan for taking all of them. Yeah, I mean, just really good team. I think Judge at DH, a little bit questionable. Yasmani at catcher, not the best option, but still really good. And then Cattell at shortstop. So I don't know if you're just broke after doing this. I don't know if it was all your stubs. Judging by how like Judge has no parallels, I would say you probably just threw in an order for like all your subs and got Judge. So it is what it is. So you're quite a ways off Willie Castro. I think Cattell at shortstop is still pretty decent. But it's just like maybe you think of running Trevor Story or somebody, but for me, I think Cattell's probably still a top 3 shortstop. He's just not as good as what he was when he had like 92 clutch. Let's see. Starting staff, pretty good. Again, like no Randy, but not everybody needs Randy. I think Hunter Green will serve you well on All-Star. So W tier list watcher, I would assume, because most people don't just go out and grab Hunter Green randomly. Gagne, Mason Miller, so 2 outlier guys. It's fine. How many lefties? 3. I think Gregory Soto is a little sketchy, but you've got 3 parallels on him, so you seem to be getting along decently well with his pinpoint. Yeah, nothing wrong with the bullpen. I don't hate it. Lineup order, so he did include it, so we'll go over it. I think this is pretty much exactly how I would do the lineup. I'd probably flip Scott Rowland and Brian Roberts, but I don't love hitting with either of them. So, I mean, if it's just a crapshoot, then it's a crapshoot at that point. But really solid team. I think, what's the baseline for knocking out like a good amount of grindable programs and just like recently getting live series done with like no extra cards, like no Santana, no like Posada, no Willie Castro, no Randy. So just missing all like the optional, like really expensive cards. Probably a 9. I think it's a 9. It's a really good team. It's just kind of, I think shortstop's a pretty big gap in the defensively. Like Marte's just as good, if not better than Castro, but offensively he's just not really going to keep pace. And then I think Judge at DH in theory is pretty good, but you get some pretty miserable at bats from time to time. All right, next team, we got Tyler here. So this is the second time in the lineup videos. Ohtani away from Beltran. So, a lot of people are there. But if you're Ohtani away, you're a lot closer than a lot of people are. 100K. So, I mean, yeah, you're probably just, saving up for 5-6 times that until you can get Ohtani. 750, 800, so he's close. Like he, pushes for World Series, and it's not always like, or actually, if you're 750, I keep forgetting. Yeah, World Series just 700, right? Or no, 800. Ooh, long day. So he's like, he pushes for World Series, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes he's just there, and he gets to over 800. So. He is pretty fluid with his lineup. This is kind of his best one. Yeah, Ozzie Smith probably can go. Don't really care how much a card has struck out, I'll be honest. It's not really something I ever look at. You know, is the batting average high? Is the OPS high? Is his at bat per home run high? That's what I'm concerned with, not how many times he struck out. You know, I would love for every hitter in my lineup to be prime Joey Gallo and just bat 300 and hit a home run every 2 at bats, and the other at bat he strikes out. Miller's his go-to lefty. I mean, that's fine. Like, I say he's bad, but like he's not. Like, when you're pitching against only lefties with him, he's pretty good. But you know, likes to use J-Ram. Other than that, open to replacing Everett. So he wants to use Roland because, you know, you go out of your way to get him. I understand that. I forced him for a while too. So it makes sense. Lineup construction. Victor Scott. So I'd be interested to see how he's doing with him. I haven't used him yet. And he's kind of bouncing him off Ted Simmons. I don't know if he gives power. If he gives power, which it looks like he does, because Ted Simmons is up to 82, which I feel like is higher than what he's usually at. So that's a W boost, honestly. Hadn't really considered that. It's also helping Ozzy a little bit, but I mean, these like new captains, like what you're getting +3, +5 for like the tier 1. It's nothing groundbreaking. I think Giambi at first base isn't great. I think he's always a super slept on card because he's never like the best first baseman. But they sauce him. Like, he has a pretty good swing, and he gets like every single hitting quirk every year. There was 1 year where like he was either the A's collection or the AL West collection or something. And every time that card pinch hit against me, he hit a home run. Every single time. So I am scarred from Giambi from the past. So I'm sure he's still really good, but that doesn't change the fact that there's a million switch hitting first basemen. There's Gil Hodges. Like, you have Hodges and you're choosing not to use him, which I think is crazy. You just kind of have to thug it out and, you know, and grind it out, and eventually he kind of makes sense. Starting wise, it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect, other than like Zimmerman or Leiter for Randy, but obviously doesn't matter a ton there. And then bullpen wise, the usual suspects, other than like upgrading Danny, or, you know, he say he was using Miller, but I guess he's not activated in this picture, probably because he's running the Cardinals boost. And then still running Soto, which is a little suspect. Victor Scott lead off. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely not like your traditional team. And he did not mention Giambi. So it's kind of weird to like bat him, you know, 4th and then not mention him. Like, I would think the new Delgado would just be better if you just want another lefty first baseman. But there's also a million switch hitters you could go for. Like, you could go for Santana. There's, you know, a lot of options there. So just stuff to think about. I don't love Ozzy if he's like that word. I don't know what I'm trying to say. If he's like very important to the Cardinals boost, maybe he's got some argument to hang around, but I think you could probably just do some bench slots, or maybe even that like Matthew Liberatore like starting pitcher card. Maybe you just go like that route instead of like Leiter or Zimmerman, and that will save you your Cardinals boost. And then you can get a real shortstop in there, like a Willie Castro or a Javi Baez or Trevor Story even. I'd prefer it over Ozzy. But it's a unique team, so I'll give you points for that. And I'll probably give you like a 7.5. And then if you get Beltron, it's probably like an 8, 8.5, maybe even a 9 if you get Beltron and some other cards. But really solid, pretty solid team for sure. Well, we did not get through as many teams as I want to. We'll probably do like 1, 2 more, maybe. So, it's crazy when I call out ahead of time that I'm doing one of these. Like, it was not looking good. It looked like it was gonna be like a 30-40 minute team review video, but I told y'all I was doing it, so y'all flooded the inbox. So we've got Ortho here. Not gonna dox him. Likes all the tier list videos. 25K, got Tatis. Otani away. 800, 900. Can't make 1,000. I understand that. I understand that for sure. So can't actually zoom in here. So I think we'll just be really quick with this one. I don't know why it's being like this, but can't zoom in. So we'll just be real quick. I think Griffey's a little dated. There's definitely some other options you could go with. I think even like the new Victor Scott, unless you're hitting like 450, 400 with Griffey, I think the new Victor Scott's probably just a direct upgrade. That, you trade a little bit of bat for a lot more defense. I think it could be worth it. JD's probably a little dated at DH. Probably would prefer like the new Brent Rooker, just on like, I think he has a better swing and better quirks. But if you're getting along well with JD, it is what it is. And then Judge. So maybe there's a world where like you move Judge to DH and then just find a new right fielder. It's not the hardest spot in the world to find. Starting staff, pretty much perfect. And then bullpen wise, other than like upgrading Danny, or like I don't love Trinan, but I see a lot of people with him, so fair enough. But let's see. So no Beltron. Pretty good starting staff, but it's kind of what you see from everybody. I like an 8.5. I think 8.5. It's pretty in line with a lot of teams we've seen. All right, so we'll do this one as our last one. Sorry to everybody we didn't get to. There's actually a good amount, which is shocking because I thought, like I said, it would be a shorter one, but it is what it is. So we've got Juan here. First MLB the show, because he's been on PC before and on Switch, where it's not really optimal to play. But hitting on the Switch is bad, yeah. Makes sense. Playing on like 20 frames and then the LE comes up and you're on 2 frames. Does not sound fun. Trying to get into online. Mostly been an offline player. And he wants to use Giants is kind of the theme. So appreciates the channel. Well, I appreciate the support. So wow. Okay. Better team than I thought. Better team than I thought we were going to see based on the rating and whatnot. JP Crawford's pretty suspect. Like, he does traditionally have like a really good swing. But he's pretty suspect. And I think Junko Lee, he can probably have a pretty good spot on the bench. But I think as far as being like effective online, I just don't think he has enough power. And he's got like the inverse splits, which is weird for him. But I mean, he's solid. Like, he's just not ideal. So I think you can maybe just get your Giants fix from Wilmer, would be my advice. But if you want to run him, you can run him. I doubt you running Junko Lee in left field is going to cost you games, especially at the rating you're at right now with this team. But I probably wouldn't run JP Crawford. Like, if you don't have sentimental attachment, just pure lefty shortstop that doesn't field super great, probably not somebody I'd keep. So you've kind of shown some willingness to grind some Color Storm players. So maybe go get Javi, just really solid free card, or even like Trevor Story will just give you another righty that pops lefties, give you some insurance against like Shohei and Junko Lee and JP Crawford just getting shut down by like a really good lefty starter. So that's probably the route I would go there. It seems like you're running the Trinan boost for Otani and Grandal. It's not really something I've thought about so far. And really need to get on earning these Color Storms, but they're like just annoying enough to where I haven't gone through and like got all of them. Roger, pretty much perfect rotation. I think Matt Cain's a little suspect, but again, you probably just want to have another Giant in there. And in theory, he's just like he's a good amount worse than Jordan Zimmerman, but he's kind of like if Jordan Zimmerman and Jake Arrieta had a baby, you would end up with this Matt Cain. So he's solid enough. He's fine. This Trinan boost isn't bad, dude. Honestly, you're boosting Kopech, Trinan, Dustin May, Otani, and Grandal. So that's not bad. I'm sure the boost is like +1, +2, +3, something like that. It's not going to be great because the Dodgers have so many good cards, but it's definitely an underrated boost to run. I mean, I really don't hate anything about your team other than like JP, which he has a really good swing, and I get the argument, but running like that bad of a defensive shortstop when you're not getting like the offensive upside of like a Bo Bichette or like a Castro or somebody, probably isn't worth it. So, keeping your Giants bias in mind, I would probably just, swap out your shortstop, and that's really it. I think other than that, you're good to go, and it's just a matter of like not being on switch, and you'll be good. So, all right, so that is probably it. We're gonna give my guy Juan here probably objectively like an 8.5 with like Wilmer and Junko Lee in there, but I'll give him a 9 because we love a good homer. So not bad at all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you didn't make this episode, try to resubmit, get in the next one. A quick tip is, I go from the most recent email, so the longer you can wait before the next episode's posted, the higher your chances of making the video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. Till next time, peace.